Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, March 17th, 2025. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Monday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame. Right now, super narrow range here, heading into the RTH open, just 35.5 points of range. That's 26% of average. 26% of average range. This market has had a super high volatility. Price action here over the last several weeks. You can see how much range we've seen over the last 5 and 10 day splits. 134 points per day on a 10-day, 130.5 points on a 5-day. That's a lot of points per day. Right now, just 35.5 points on a Monday ahead of Fed Wednesday. So we have Fed Wednesday coming up here later on this week. And we're having a Fed statement and rate decision plus the press conference during a week here where we've seen a ton of volatility heading into that week. So anticipating high volatility price action Wednesday, Thursday, and even into Friday this week. Early on, though, could be range bound. Monday, Tuesday could be range bound. Still a downward bias, so any pullback here could still be a selling opportunity for another rotation down. We are getting closer to the point here where perhaps a low might start to find itself here at some point. We need a good strong low to turn the current tide here, because this is highly bearish, and when it gets into that mode, it can be it could continue to be quite bearish here. Every pullback becomes a selling opportunity until we get that capitulation event or some semblance of a strong low. So that could be a little bit lower until we get that. But all eyes on the Fed here Wednesday. We take a look here at the NQ. There's the NQ right here. Very similar price action to the ES. Super narrow range heading into the RTH open. Just 28.6% of average. 170 points right now. A pullback within a current downtrend here. And again, that could lead to another round of selling pressure ahead. Monday and Tuesday could be mostly range bound here, again ahead of Wednesday's Fed. The Thursday after Fed day can tend to be a super high range day as well, and Friday can tend to be a continuation day as well. So those 3 days could be high range days. Early in the week, a little bit lower range price action, still a downward directional bias here. Do we get that next drop into about the 18.3 zone? That'll take us back toward these recent lows right here. And those are the September lows. So do we get back into those zones? Do we get back into the August 5th low here, which would take us back toward the 17,350 level? So we still have some big time downside targets that could be reached, and again need a strong low in order to change this direction and get this thing going back to the upside. Crude oil up 1.2% right now. This one seeing a range of just 57% of ADR. Again, it paused precisely at the 65.20s. That's a big time level of interest there. We have a very narrow range that is developed here at these lows. And again, as we mentioned before, we might have found the low or gotten very close to finding the low before we turn around. This zone here is about as low as we go. 63, 64, 63, 30, right in that zone. That's your multi-year lows right there. 64, big time support level. If we get into that area, maybe that can help turn this thing back up. 72 and 80 would be those next upside targets. As of right now, still downtrending. Still downtrending within a range that would still suggest more weakness here. If this thing can pop back through the 68.50s or so, maybe it starts to open up some upside here, but maybe we still need that last strong low, one last flush event here to get this thing going off the upside. 64 test would be huge. Looking at gold futures, gold right now basically break even at the moment. Narrow inside day, 43% of ADR, just 18 points of range. Inside day, 2-day compression here after the recent squeeze, and we are trading precisely 3,000. Precisely 3,000 right now. We got 3,000 over the last couple of days here, and that's been our target. That's been our target for a little while here. We had this great compression that developed, and we talked right in here, right at the center of this compression here, that the next upside target could be 3,000. If we start to push through 2740 here, it'll open up a nice continuation, and we've gotten there. Now that was just from the short-term pattern here. Now that we've gotten there, do we see more additional upside beyond that? This compression alone right here would suggest that maybe 3,100 could be in play up ahead, or even be a bit beyond that. So more upside could still be ahead for gold. Even though we've reached 3,000, we have a very bullish upward sloping yearly VWAP here, so any pullback even into that level could still be a buy, as this market continues to demonstrate quite a bit of strength. Intraday just developed a intraday key range here that could provide a little bit of short-term fade opportunities, but with an upward bias. All right, looking at the YM right now down about 0.5%. This one taking a gap up on a Sunday here and pulling back a little bit. This one's also trading a low range heading into the RTH Open, 30.8% of ADR. Very clear downtrend, rounded top up here. From that compression right there, we noted, man, if this thing breaks down here, we could be looking at a move that takes us across the way toward 42,000. We're now below it. We hit 40,700 last week. A little bit of a bounce, but that's a counter trend bounce within the overall downtrending market. So more downside could still be seen out of this one as well, unless we get a strong low. And perhaps Wednesday's Fed event could give us a strong pivot extreme that we could see some sort of movement away from. So if we start to break down a bit lower than where we currently are, you have 40,000. Down below that, you have 39,000. There's still some downside levels to go get. So again, still trending down until proven otherwise. Looking at Bitcoin down 1.8% right now. This one has also pulled back here. We haven't seen quite the drop as some of the other markets here, but again, we're developing another narrow range here within a downtrend, and this could look very similar to what we've already seen before here, these ranges that are broken down. So still in a downtrend here. 85, good short-term area of resistance. If it breaks through that, maybe it can open up a move back to 95. But still rounding off, still trending down, still lower highs, lower lows. And if this thing starts to give out 75K, that's going to open up a drop here that could take us back into the 60s, or even as low as into 50K down below. So big time zone right here coming into play. Any test into that 75K level will be significant. If it can bounce it, maybe we have a little bit more movement to the upside. If we fail, big drop coming. So keep an eye on that market structure edge. Looking at ETH, this one also range bound here at the lows. Highly bearish move since December. This thing's sitting right on top of 1800 right now rather, and again has not found a strong low. Really hasn't seen great capitulation outside of that day. That was a huge flashpoint low, but obviously we knew that off of this price action we'd see another flush down below. So looking for more weakness here out of this one as well. We'll know all is clear when this one can get back above the 2200 level. Until then, could be some painful downside price action ahead towards 1600, which is our next key level below 1600, and you're getting back to 1000. So that's the recent lows from 2022. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.